In this lesson, we are going to learn how to do a better introduction to your experience and also add a HTML loader. We understand quickly. Currently, things are showing up once they are ready. We are using our website in local, meaning that everything loads quite fast. So you just refresh, you wait maybe 1 second maximum, and everything just shows up. If you are using, let's say, a bad bandwidth or the website is online, obviously, well, you will have to wait a few seconds and things will start to show up once they are loaded, which is not very immersive. We need something better, a better introduction. What we are going to do is have like a black overlay, and this black overlay will disappear once everything is ready, and we will also add a loading bar, and this loading bar will be made of HTML CSS for the purpose of learning, and it will just load nicely, and once everything is loaded, where the loading bar just disappear and the overlay disappear too, so it fade out and we can see the scene. All right, let's do that. So in our setup, it's what we had in the realistic render, meaning that we have our flight helmet, which is great because it's quite heavy. There is a lot of assets inside and those assets are not optimized. So it looks great, but it's really heavy, something like 50 megabytes or something like that. So it's great and it looks just cool. So let's capitalize on that. And we're going to start with the overlay. We want a black overlay to fade out, meaning that I want the whole scene to be black, and once everything is ready, this black overlay will just disappear. We can do multiple ways. We can animate the canvas, meaning in the HTML and the CSS, we can just hide the canvas, have a black background behind, and when everything is ready, well, we just fade in the canvas. All right, why not? We can also do the same thing, meaning that we put a div above, so it will cover the whole canvas and make that div disappear once everything is loaded. All right, we can do that too, but we are going to do even better. We are going to keep things inside the WebGL, inside our 3GS scene. We are going to create a plane, and that plane will be always facing the camera. And once everything is loaded, well, we just make that plane fade out. It's always better to keep things in the WebGL, not add HTML. We're going to add HTML later, I know, but it's just for the sake of learning. If you can just put everything inside the WebGL, and it's exactly what we're going to do right now. So to put a plane in front of the camera, we could add it in the camera, because remember that the perspective camera is an object. It inherits from object 3D, and you can put any object inside any other object. We could put like a plane inside the camera, move it forward a little, like a huge plane, I mean just huge enough, and when the camera looks somewhere else, goes somewhere else, we will also every time have the plane facing the camera because it's inside the camera. This is one way of doing, but I'm not a big fan of that because you don't know exactly the size of the plane because it's depend on the resolution, and it's kind of ugly to put things inside other objects. I never do that. I know I can do that, but if I want to put things inside other things, I create groups, all right? So we are going to do things a little differently. Instead, we are going to create a plane, put that plane on the scene, but say to that plane to always face the camera. And we're going to do that using a vertex shader. So let's go. You might think, oh, it's going to be hard. Actually, it's going to be easier. You will see why. First, we have to create a plane. So let's go. I will put the code, let's say, right after the base, because I need to add things inside the scene, so I can put it right after the base. I will call that, let's say, overlay. And I will create the usual, like overlay geometry, new 3 plane buffer geometry, like that. I don't know what size it should be. I will just put 1, 1, 1, and 1 as a subdivision because we just need 2 triangles. A plane facing the camera will be just 2 triangles. I think I got it right. All right, let's do a material. I won't start with a shader material, start with simple stuff just to make sure that everything is working. So it's going to be 3 mesh basic material, and I'm going to use, let's say, red color, just in order to see it clearly. 0x ff0000, like that. And then you can create, well, the overlay mesh. So it's going to be overlay, new 3 mesh, and as always, we use a geometry, a material, and let's not forget to add it to the scene. We know about that. What do we get? Where we get our plane right here. From the start, you cannot see it. It's because it's facing the wrong direction, and you can see the back of a plane. So just go the other way. And as you can see, there is a plane right here. All right, small plane, not facing the camera. We need to do some work on that. How do we make sure that that plane is facing the camera? First, let's replace the mesh basic material by a shader material. So let's go. And you can try. Just don't look at the slide, don't look at this screen. I'm at my screen, and try to replace this by the same thing, but using a shader material. It's good exercise. It's still hard. It took me like years before I'm able to do it just like that without looking at any documentation. So just try. You need to practice. It's all about practicing now. You know many things. It's about practicing those. So I will create a vertex shader. I'm going to use backquotes. As always, you can put inside other files, but it's going to be really simple. So I will just put it here inside those backquotes. I have the main function. I'm not looking at the slides at the bottom. I will try it this way. So it's GL position written like this. I have to use the projection matrix, then the model view matrix. Let's use both at the same time because you have a mix between the model matrix and the view matrix named model view matrix. Multiply, we need a vec4. The first parameter, the first three values are going to be the position attribute of that vertex. And the fourth one will be just 1, all right? Because we need to provide a vec4. I think I got it right. Don't forget the semicolon. Let's continue. We add the fragment and we want the same red color. So it's going to be something like this. So void, the same void, main. We have to set, remember the name, it's GL frag color. It's a vec4 too because we can have alpha. So it's RGBA 1.0, 0.0, 0.0, 1.0. I just want it to be visible. I test. Is it working? Oh no, I got it wrong. Oh, I wrote fragment. It's fragment shader. See, I always do mistakes. And now it's working. Make sure you didn't do the same mistake. I forgot the shader. So it's in camel case, fragment shader. And we got this, we have the same result, our red plane. So right now we have control over the vertices. I want to see, if you want to see the trick, look at that. I will just do, look what I selected, the projection matrix and the model view matrix. I just remove those and look at that. Here you go. What did just happen here? Well, remember that the WebGL will just draw triangles on the screen. And we provide a lot of things. We provide the position of each vertex. We provide like the model transformation. So if we do a rotation on it, well, the plane have to rotate. We provide a view matrix, which is when our camera moves so that if the camera look at the left, well, the plane should be on the right. We also provide the projection matrix to place things inside that clip space box, really strange. But let's get rid of all of these. We just want to draw those two triangles where we set the vertices coordinate. So I just remove everything and I just have this. I put the position and it will be placed in the middle of the clip space. And that's all. This is one way of just putting something on the screen. And it's looking just like we need. Like it's filling the screen. I know it's not big enough. It's because our plane is currently, its size goes from, let me check. Yeah, its size goes from 0 to 1, so it's width 181. And if you remember, the clip space goes from -1 to +1. -1 to +1, maybe the opposite. -1 to +1, maybe the opposite too. Anyway, it's from -1 to +1. This means that if you want something to fill the clip space, well, you need to do something that has a size of 2. So let's put a size of 2 here. And here, not for the subdivision, we still need just 2 triangles. So double the size, and that's all. And if you want to make sure that it's working, you can just put like on the material, you can do wireframe, true, like, I said true, not texture, what the hell? All right, and it's looking like that. You can see the triangle, just slightly lower the value. We see that it's a triangle filling the right size. So it's perfect. All right, let's get rid of the wireframe. I just wanted to show you that you just draw 2 triangles, which is the most basic usage of WebGL. It's like it has nothing to do with 3GS. We just draw 2 triangles by using WebGL. Let's move forward. So we have our overlay. We didn't have to create a div to animate the canvas, stuff like that. We can do everything inside the WebGL. We need to control the color and the alpha. Well, the color, we are not going to send a uniform. You can just change the color to black. But if you want, you can send a color to it so that you can control the color from the JavaScript and maybe animate the color. I don't know what you want to do. Anyway, we just change it to black. So I have every values to 0, but the alpha, which is 1. And now we need to control also the alpha, but we know that we are going to animate this one. First, let's test that this little guy is working. I will just put 0.5. And it's not working. That's really strange. Let's put 0.2 and still working. Did I miss something? Yes, I did. If you have transparency in your material, always use transparent. True. Oh, not texture. Damn. What's that? Yeah, and added it here. Yeah, I have still troubles with my issues with my IntelliSense, VS Code IntelliSense. Anyway, it's transparent. True like that. And now it's working. So if I put less, let's say 0.2, yeah, we get a low transparency. The idea is that we are going to start at 1, and when everything is ready, we are going to animate it so it goes to 0. All right, this is working fine. Let's use a uniform to be able to control it from the outside of the shader. So we create uniforms property with one uniform inside. I think I will only have one uniform. So it's a very simple one. See, we are creating our own shader and the code is so simple. We don't need any mesh basic, mesh standard material, stuff like that. We just create a very simple shader material, a performant one. ualpha, and I will set, I don't know, value 0.5 just to be able to test it. I'm going to retrieve it inside the fragment shader. I will do uniform. It's a float, ualpha, like that. Don't forget the semicolon as always. And I will use it instead of putting the value here. As you can see, it's working. And if I change it there, well, it's working. Great. We have control over it. Let's put 1, not 1.0, because right here it's inside the JavaScript. It has nothing to do with the shader when we put a value here. Anyway, we can move forward. And I think we're going to animate it. But first, we need to be aware of when everything are being loaded. So, how can we handle this? Well, we want to know when everything is being loaded. I know there is only one model here. Maybe actually we can put 0 for now. We will put 1 later. All right, so we can see something. We have only one model. How can we know if things are really like progressing? How can we know that assets are being loaded? Well, actually, maybe you're seeing just one model, but I can tell you that we are loading a lot of assets. By the way, there is also the environment map. There is multiple textures composing this model, and there is maybe multiple geometries. And you can just have a look inside the static folder. It's inside the models, flight image, GRTF, and here is all the assets. So we have a lot of assets. Only one geometry. I mean, maybe multiple geometries, but inside that file, we have this file, and we have all the huge textures, which are like really huge. It's not optimized. We could optimize it, but this is not the subject of this lesson. So anyway, by loading just one asset, in fact, we are loading a lot of things. So let's move forward. We are going to use, we are using a GLTF loader. I put the loaders at the beginning. So as you can see, there is a GLTF loader to load the model. There is a cube texture loader to load the environment map, what you can see behind and with what we are using to illuminate the model. And we can also add many other loaders. All the usual loader like texture loader, font loader, stuff like that will work with what we are going to do now. And what we are going to do now is use a loading manager. Remember the loading manager? We talked about it at the beginning. We didn't use it. I just wanted to, I mean, we did, but not like a real case scenario. But now we are going to use it for a real case scenario. The loading manager will mutualize the events so that you will use the same loading manager for all your loaders. And you will be aware that when things progress and when everything is ready. So let's go. First, before the two loaders, you will do const loading manager equal new 3 loading manager. It's available inside the 3 variable. And you will use that loading manager inside the GRTF loader and inside the cube texture loader. You can just save. Nothing has changed, but right now we can listen to events on the loading manager, which is great. To listen to events on the loading manager, you can provide multiple parameters to the instance here, and we will provide callbacks. we will provide only two callbacks. The first one will be triggered. So callbacks are functions that are triggered when an event occurs. All right, it's just functions, but those kind of functions that are triggered when an event occurs, we usually call them callbacks. All right, so the first one will be triggered when everything is loaded. So I will put loaded and log inside just to test loaded. And the second one will be triggered when assets are being loaded. Each asset, which is from the cube texture or the GRTF loader. So let's go. I will do just progress. You can put a third one here. It's going to be if there is an error, but we are not going to do mistakes. So let's not add a third one. Anyway, when you do a mistake, you will get an error in the console, JavaScript classic error telling you that a file cannot be loaded. So you will be aware. Save and look at that. We get a lot of progress, like really a lot of progress. And at the end, we get a loaded, which is exactly what we want. We are going to use this one to animate the bar that will fill. And we are going to use this one to hide the overlay and also the bar. So we have everything we need here. How are we going to do the animation? Well, the animation we need to do right now is to hide the overlay. So maybe we can show the overlay. So go back to your material. So it's the overlay material and set the ualpha to 1. All right. By default, it's 1. When the loaded event is being triggered, we want the overlay to hide. That doesn't seem too hard, and it's not. We are going to use a library. I know it's far-fetched for just doing this small animation, but the thing is that we already learned how to add and use GSAP, so we are going to use GSAP. If it's just like that, I just usually do it in the tick function or something like that, and I just calculate it using mathematics, and this way I don't load a huge library just to do a small animation. So it's up to you. I want things to go fast. So I'm going to use GSAP because we already did use GSAP, but it's up to you for your projects. So let's go. First, we need to add it to our project. So I will close the server and I will do npm install. Remember this -- save, and you said GSAP. And I recommend you to use the same version as me. So it's 3.5.1. All right. You can use the latest version if you want to just remove this part, but be careful. If you do so, you might have differences in the way of using GSAP. If you use the same as me, it will be the same code, no surprise. So npm install -- save GSAP at 3.5.1. Let's go. I know I have error here. It's because I killed the server. I'm installing GSAP. Just wait maybe a few seconds. Once it's ready, you can start the server again. So npm run dev like that. All right, it's running. I can just refresh this one instead. And I can just hide the terminal because I don't need it anymore. So I did add the GSAP library to my project. I can now import GSAP. I will do import. So let me check. Oh, I forgot to import it. GSAP. Oh, no, I did. It's in the previous slide, I guess. Yeah, that's it. My bad. So curly bracket GSAP from GSAP. Let's just make sure that we did everything right by logging the value like that. So yeah, I get this, which is fine. I get no error. Let's move forward. All right. And inside the loaded callback, remember it's a callback, it's a function that is being triggered when everything is being loaded. I can do GSAP, so this is the way of animating things. I have to provide what object is being animated. So for me, it's the overlay material. I know I'm declaring the overlay material, I'm creating the material after, but this function won't be triggered at start. So we will wait a few seconds, so the overlay material will be available. So it's not, there is no scope or JavaScript issue right here. I'm going to animate what? I'm going to animate its uniform. Remember, we added the ualpha uniform. So uniforms, ualpha, and you have to provide everything in an object. So you can provide the value. Well, the value is going to be 0. So this is the name of the property you are animating. So it's this one, all right? This is why I put value. So value is going to be 0, and I want this transition to last. So this twin, we talk about twins when using GSAP. I want this transition, to last 3, and it's 3 seconds. Let's save, finger crossed, and it's working. Look how beautiful it is. It's looking great. I can do it again. and it's looking great. Once everything is loaded, the overlay just disappears. It wasn't that hard. We know how to do all of this. I know it's a lot of things, but it's a lot of simple things. Now you know those. So let's move forward, and we are going to load to create the loading bar. This one is going to be a little harder because I want it to be a little harder. You will see how. We are going to add a progress bar matching the assets loading. So if we loaded like half of the assets, we will see like the bar at half of the full size. And we're going to do it in HTML. But first, the problem is that we are running this website in local. Maybe we could like put the website online, test it, all right, change it to local, put the website online, test it, change it again. It's going to take like way too long. So what we are going to do instead is that we are going to mimic a bad bandwidth, to simulate a bad bandwidth. The features I'm going to show you are available in Chrome, but you have the same feature in Firefox, all right? You will just have to find how to do it, but you have the same feature available. Be careful. By the time you're looking at this video, some interface, buttons, stuff like that might change a little. I will try to keep the lessons up to date, but you might see like small changes. So maybe we'll have to find the right button. So first you have to open the DevTool. To open the DevTools, we already saw that. I hope your DevTools was already open. So I just do the shortcuts. You can do like right click. I cannot do right click because there is an object control. So you can go to the menu here, more tools, developer tools, all right? Or you just use the shortcut right here. Okay, your DevTool is open. You will go to the network tab right here. And the first thing you need to change is to check the disable cache. Always check this one, not just for this lesson. When you are developing a website, always check this one. This way, when you refresh, Chrome will just ignore what is already in the cache. And it will look like it's the first time you come to this website. So it's not exactly about that, but about the cache, it will be like it's the first time you come to this website. So click on this one. It will do that only if the DevTools is open. All right. So don't worry, you're not messing with your computer or loading stuff like that. And it's only when the DevTools is open. So click on disable cache. Next thing I want you to do is to click on the drop down right here. So be careful, it's a little too small. Yeah, it's this one. Click on that. Maybe the words will be different depending on the language of your computer, of Chrome. So it's this one, and this will let you play with your bandwidth and to simulate connections. Sorry, I forgot to remove this one, so we will add it anyway. So you probably don't have those. You have maybe a fast 3G, slow 3G, offline. The problem with those is that they are too slow. Maybe by the time you're testing, you have different values, so maybe you can just test those. But what I can tell you is that those are really too slow, and you can wait for maybe 30 seconds to test your website. It's too long. What we are going to do is add a new one. I know you don't have those, but just click on add a new one. You will have access to this, and I'm going to destroy those, all right, so that we have exactly the same thing. So if I do that, I can click on add. You will click on add custom profile, and this way you can create a new bandwidth, like a new fake bandwidth. You can choose a name. I don't know what to put. So I will do like pretty fast. Why not? And the download speed, so it's kilobits actually, because it's not a B, uppercase B, just test values. I will not do like conversion stuff like that. Why I recommend you to put is 100,000. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah. 100,000 like that, okay? Without the space, it looks like this. I think it will just be fine. Anyway, you can tweak it depending on your project. If you have more assets, like huge assets or smaller assets, we'll just tweak this one until you're happy with how long it takes to load your model. You can let the upload and the latency, we don't care about those. And you click on add. So you did it, good job. You can close this, all right? It's kind of a pop-in inside the DevTools. So close this one. And here, now you can choose pretty fast. Click on this one. And right now you just configured your Chrome to make like if it has a bad bandwidth. Great. So if you update, if you refresh here, just wait, and you can see that it takes time, and you can see things being loaded. And now it's loaded, all right? And it's just the right speed so we can see the loading bar progress. We don't have to put everything online, and we can test in local. So always do that, not just for WebGL project, even for your classic HTML, CSS project. use this feature to test with a bad bandwidth. So let's move forward. Yeah, it's working. Let's create this loading bar. For the sake of the lesson, we will add the bar in HTML, but we could have created it using a plane. Just like we did for the overlay, we could have create like a small plane and load this plane using, make this plane fill using a vertex shader or fragment shader, stuff like that. This is actually the way I would have done it, but I need you to practice the mixing of WebGL with HTML, which is why we are going to do it using HTML and CSS. So let's go. Even if it's a bad idea, let's do that. I will get back to the console. As you can see, there is a warning. It's just Chrome telling us that we are using a network throttling. All right, this is the name. It's throttling. When you use you simulate a bad bandwidth, it's called network throttling. I have trouble saying that, as you can see. Anyway, we are going to move to the HTML file because remember we have an HTML file. We didn't use it a lot, and here we are going to create the bar. It's going to be just a white bar at the center, going from the left part to the right part, and at the middle vertically. So let's go. I'm going to create a div. I'm going to call it like a loading bar, like that. All right, and I think that's all for the HTML. Cool. So make sure you added your div. We save this one. So when I save, the things got refreshed. All right, why not? And then I will go to the CSS and I will close the sidebar so that I can just focus on the code. So first, the first thing you should do is just position the bar as it should be. So let's go. I'm going to target it. It's just CSS. Right now, it has nothing to do with 3GS. I hope you are okay with CSS. You can do like simple CSS. We're going to do animation, transformation. Anyway, I'm going to explain it just in case some of you don't know about transition and transformation. You will see. So loading bar, we are just targeting this little guy here. And we are going to position it. I'm going to use absolute. I could have used fixed. Top 50%, width 100% should be fine. H is going to be a very small bar, like 2 pixels. Maybe I should do more, just in case some people cannot see it. Well, 2 pixels should be fine. And background, because I want it to be white, well, I will just put a white color like that. Let's save. Make sure you did save the HTML and the CSS. And as you can see, you have a small bar at the center. So it's kind of subtle. Everybody can see it, but it's not like a huge loading with a percentage or stuff like that. Actually, you can do any animation you'd like. You can do like WebGL animation if you want, but let's keep things simple for the lesson's sake. So working great. What we are going to do is test what happens if you try to resize it. We're going to use the transform property, and the transform property looks something like that. We could use the width, like if I do like 50%, all right, it's working, and we can animate this width, but it's a bad idea. This is CSS. It has nothing to do with WebGL. This is CSS. When you want to resize stuff, if you can use a transform. Transform will use the GPU. It's called material acceleration, if I'm not saying a mistake. And it's just like doing WebGL, but in CSS, kind of. So use transform. It's better for performances. And you will do like scale x 0.3. And we just want to, we use this function to scale. So inside the transform, we use this function to scale the bar. And you will see that we get a very similar result, but the problem is that it's in the center, all right? It's at the center, so it's not that good. It's working. It could be great to have the loader at the center, but I want it to start from the left to fill, and when it's done, to disappear on the right. I want something like that. To change the origin of the transform, you can do, it's right after, let me check. Yeah, it's right after, so transform origin. You just have to provide the horizontal and the vertical values. I will do like top left. It will be the top left of the concerned element. So top left like that. And you will see that the scale now occurs on the top left of the element. And if I do more, like, I don't know, if I do less, 0.1, well, it looks like that. If I do 0.8 or anything, well, it looks like that. The idea is that we are not going to change this scale value inside the CSS. We are going to do that inside the JavaScript. When things are going to load, where we will calculate the ratio right here, and we will set, I don't know, 0.1, then the next asset, it will be 0.2, and the next asset, it will be 0.3, and so on. All right, that's the idea. But first, we need to test that everything is set properly in CSS. So it looks like this. Let me check. Yeah, everything is set. We just need to change this value from the JavaScript, but let's put it to 0. So scale it 0 so that it's fully hidden on the left. And we are going to change this CSS property, so this style property, from the JavaScript. All right, let's move forward. Let's update the bar. We are going really well. We're going to update the bar in the progress callback. So let's go. It's in this one, which is the one doing all those logs. When any asset is being loaded, this callback is being triggered. And we can have access to 3 arguments here. We can have access to the URL of the asset. You know what? Let's put them. We will have the item URL, so asset URL, items URL. You can put any variable you want here and then use it as you choose the name inside the callback function. The next one is how many items has been loaded. And the third one is how many items have to be loaded so that it's over. And you are going to log them all just to see what we have here. And look at that. Yes, you can do multiple logs in one console log. You have just to use commas. And look at that. I will just increase this because there is too many. Every asset being loaded will be shown here. You can see that it starts with the flight energy GLTF. It's the first one being loaded on 9. But when this one is being loaded, he now knows that he needs to load much more assets because those assets, like the image, stuff like that, your 3GS doesn't know he has to load it until this one is being loaded, which is why the total number, so the third argument, starts at 9 and then goes to 24. It's okay. We don't care about that as long as we calculate the right ratio. And then it's loading the environment map faces, and then it's loading like the PNG, bin, PNG. It's loading everything. And at the end, as you can see, we have 24 on 24. So we're going to use, we don't care about the URL of the asset. We just care about the items loaded and the items total. And we can do like a simple mathematic operation to know how much has been loaded from 0 to 1. Look at that. I just divide it, so I get this, and it's going up to 1, sorry. So it starts at 0. Well, it loaded 1, so it starts at 0 point something, and then it goes up to 1. And this is just like a progress ratio. We can use that progress ratio to update this property here. And we're going to do that exactly. So let's go. Because we want, this is what we are going to do now is just like JavaScript. It has nothing to do with 3GS. We want to update an element here in the HTML. This is the HTML language, I know, but once it's been interpreted by your brother, it's called DOM. This is the DOM, all right? And we want to get an element from the DOM. Let's use the right words. So how do we get a DOM element? So this is why I say DOM. In your JavaScript, you will retrieve the element, and you can do that, let's say right here, because it has things about, it's about loading. We can do that here in that section, and we will create a variable, and we'll do loading bar element. And we want to get this element from the DOM, and we will use document query selector. This is just JavaScript, all right? If you don't know about this, well, this is why I'm telling you that. This is the way of fetching an element from the DOM in JavaScript and put it inside a variable. And what we need to put here, well, it's exactly what we put inside the CSS. Those are called selector. It's the way of selecting something and applying CSS on it. Here, it's named query selector for a good reason, because we can just put a selector. If we want this element has the loading bar class, well, I can just put point, oops, got it wrong, loading bar, like that. And you can test you did fetch it well by logging it, and you will get in the log tab this little guy here. This is your loading bar. If you did a mistake here, let's say I put just something like that, so this is not the right selector, you will get null. If you have null here, so the first log, you did something wrong. First, make sure you saved everything. Check your HTML that it looks like that. Check your CSS, but the CSS should not change this part. And check that you did everything right here. And as you can see, I did a mistake. So now it should be fine. And now I get the element right here. All right, let's move forward. Well, we already did this part. We calculated the ratio. So we take items loaded and we divide it by the items total. We get a ratio, the kind of values I like, the values that goes from 0 to 1, which is great. We're going to put that inside a variable. So we do const progress ratio equal this divided by this. It's just to put it in on a variable. You can just test the value again, but it's exactly what we did before. And we can get rid of this log once everything is working. So we get the ratio. Let's apply the ratio on the style of this element. All right, it's the same element. The loading bar, we apply style in here. Here we put it using CSS, so we change the scalix. We want to do that now in the JavaScript using this progress ratio. By the way, some people might do mistake like that. Put it there. This is wrong because the action of doing like document query sectors, it's bad for the GPU. We have to do it, okay, but let's not do it on each progress. So you just do it outside of the progress. You have it stored inside that variable, and then we update it. Don't put document query sector inside the callback. So let's go to update the style like we did in CSS, but this time using JavaScript. We have to do loading bar element style, and the style we need to update is the transform. It's exactly the same as the name here. It's transform. So let's go. We are changing the transform, and we are going to put the ratio, but we need to use the same formula, which is this one. It's scalix and put the ratio here, and it will look something like that. But right now I did a mistake. This is wrong. It has to be inside the string variable. All right. So if I put, I don't know, 0.5, so I'm not using the progress ratio, but let's test everything is working. So it did work. When this function has been triggered, it set the transform of the style of the loading bar element to that value, which is 0.5 on the scalix. We need to put the progress ratio here. There is multiple way of doing it. I will show you the old way, which is by doing a concatenation like this. I hate doing that because plus is for mathematics. I don't know why they did that at the first place on the JavaScript. It's so wrong, but see, this is the way of JavaScript to work, so let's use that. Anyway, we now have a better solution. I think it's better. It's my opinion. Use the way you prefer. We will use backquotes, yet again those backquotes, and to inject variables inside the backquote, you use $ curly bracket, so open and close, and inside those curly brackets, you can put anything you want. And we do the exact same thing. But I really prefer this one because there is no like, is it a mathematical operation or is it a concatenation? This is always a surprise. Well, we know with experience, you know what's going to happen. And I don't like that. I always use backquotes. And it looks like this. Look at the loader progressing. And it worked. We have some work to do to improve that, but still it did work. Great job. If you don't have your loader progressing like that, fix the error, check the code, and get back to the video. So it's looking great. By the way, having a loader is great because you don't want your visitors to think that it crashed. So you want to show that something is happening, something is progressing. Please wait, and people won't think that the experience just crashed. Very important. All right, let's move forward. This is working great. The animation is kind of chunky, like that. Yeah, I know I do the chunky very good. So let's smooth the animation. And to smooth the animation, because we are using CSS, we can just add this small line of code. It's going to be transition, transform 0.5 second. And doing that, look at the animation. Look how smooth it is. It's not perfect, but still it's much better. When you do that, you tell CSS that if this property changes, which is the case because we are changing the transform property, well, do not do it like in 1 millisecond, do it in 0.5 millisecond, and you get a result like that. Easy. Sometimes it's easier to use CSS, even if it's bad for performances to have a mix between HTML and CSS. Well, it's easy to do. So it's looking great. The problem is that when everything is loaded, we still have the bar visible, which is wrong. We are going to make the bar disappear, and to make something cool, we are going to make it disappear to the right. So let's go. There are many ways of doing that. We are going to use my way, and we will have an issue, we see. The idea is that we are going to the CSS, and create a new selector. It's going to be the same one, starting with the same one, which is loading bar, but we are going to add another class. We're going to use ended. This means that the properties we will put there will only be applied to the elements if this element also have this class. See, I didn't put a space between those. This is a mistake. This is the right way of doing it. If the element has both the loading bar class and the ended class, those properties will be applied. And those properties will do transform, put back the scale x to 0. So we set back the scale x to 0. So it will probably like go to the left, because we also need to move the transform origin to the right, so that the scale will put it to the right. So instead of top left, we're going to use top right. I don't know why I mixed with a percentage. So you can use percentage if you want. So it's horizontal and then vertical. So I got this part really wrong. So anyway, put top right, because we did use top left here. We can use top right here. And then let's use a longer animation. So just like we did transition transform 0.5 seconds, we're going to override it by putting something here. And we're going to say that, yes, there is a transition on the transform property. It's going to be longer, but you can also provide a timing function. And we're going to use is in out. What is a timing function? Well, it's, do you have like a linear animation, meaning it will do something like that? Like very linear, or do we want it to go like fast at the beginning and then finish really slow, or the opposite, like starting slow and then go fast and finish, or both of them, meaning it's going to start slowly, accelerate at the middle, and then go slow at the end. This is the timing function. We are going to use this last one, meaning that it's going to start slowly, end slowly, and go as fast as it can in the middle of the animation. It just looks better. So we save. All right, it seems to maybe be working, at least we didn't do any mistake. And we are going to add this class in the loaded callback. Once everything is loaded, we are going to add this class to the loading bar element. How do we add a class to an element in JavaScript? So it has nothing to do with 3GS again, it's just a JavaScript and DOM element managing. We can use a class list add. We are going to do loading bar element, class list. So this is a way of managing the classes of an element. And we're going to add a new class, and it's going to be the class name we choose here. So it's ended. So we add ended. You don't have to put a point here. Don't put a point here. It will be a mistake. So we just ask to add a new class. We save, finger crossed. Let's see until the end. No, you can guess that there is a problem here. What happened here? We had like some small movement here. Let's do it again. We have two problems here. We have three problems here. Yes, it did something wrong. So what did just happen? Good luck for guessing it. Maybe you guessed it. If you inspect the element, you can inspect element using Chrome. So it looks like that. You just click on this one. It will be like way too big. Oh, anyway, it's working there. You can see that the scale X 0 is not working on my element. Like this one, there is a bar going through it. And if I remove it, well, it's not changing anything. And look at that. We have a transform scale X1. Why? Why is it not working? Well, it's because we changed it in the JavaScript inside the progress here. And this one is stronger than the one from the CSS. There is something about strength of CSS. Anyway, just trust me on that. When you put a CSS property in the JavaScript, it's stronger than in the CSS by default. So we need to fix that. What we are going to do is remove it, and you can test by doing that. And as you can see, it's working. So if I put it back, this one is stronger. And if I remove it, it's leaving. What we're going to do is remove it from the style here, from the JavaScript. So you can just do that and set the value to an empty string, just like that. You just remove the one from the JavaScript so that the CSS will be the only one. So this one will be stronger. Actually, we can even remove it, you will see. So let's go. Finger crossed again. Please, cross finger for you too. Yeah, see, it's working because you crossed your finger. Great job. So yeah, we have a beautiful loader. We have some things to fix, but still it's looking great. By the way, because we removed it from the JavaScript, we can remove it from here because it's already here at 0. All right, so let's remove this one. And also, I think I forgot to add it here. Yeah, when you are animating elements using transform, transition, stuff like that, I won't go into details, you can add its will change and say that the transform property will change. This will improve performances. It will, Chromium will remember that, all right, this one is going to change. It's going to create a layer inside the GPU. You know, it has something to do with WebGL. So the layer, so the kind of the texture being created in the GPU for that bar will be saved inside that GPU. Let's not talk about details. Trust me on that. It will just be a slightly better. So we save and it's working great. But look at the animation. All right, it's pretty good, but you see at the end, it's kind of jumping. And maybe it's even worse for you. It depends on your computer, your frame rate, stuff like that. Let's do it one more time. Look at the end. Look at this. It just jumps and there is a small freeze. There is two problems right here. And as you can see, we're at the end of the lesson. Great job. The animation looks a little jumpy for two reasons. First, when we add meshes to the scene, when we add materials, when we add textures, things like that, those things get compiled and then there is some treatment on it, they get updated and stuff like that. And these actions that 3ds and the GPU are doing can freeze the screen for, I don't know, maybe half a second, maybe less, maybe more, but anyway, it's something we can feel. So we need to fix that. What we're going to do is just wait a little. We could wait like one frame, but we're going to do something else because we need to fix another problem, is that the bar didn't finish its animation because there is a 0.5 transition on it. Look at that, it's the animation. It takes 0.5 seconds to reach the end, so the transform, but we don't wait for this, like the last one going from the 0.9 to 1, we don't wait, we say, okay, the bar now disappeared. And so this one just jumped to the end and it's bad. So we're going to fix those two issues by just waiting a little. And to wait a little in JavaScript, we can do, so let me check, yes, we can do that here. We're just going to use window set timeout. I will show you another way to do that. You provide a function, so we'll use fat arrows as always, and you do everything you did here inside that function. And the second parameter of the set timeout, so it's over there because I put everything inside my function, will be how many milliseconds to wait. And we want it to wait half a second, so it's 500 milliseconds. We save, just look at that. When it reaches the end, the animation finished, and then everything appears. And it's working great. You can maybe add a little more, something like that. There is a small jump because things are getting added to the scene anyway, and it kind of messes with the CSS animation, but that's already great. All right. Another way of doing it, I wanted to show you, it's not in the slide. It's GSAP delay call. It's exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. It's slightly better, but because we have access to GSAP, we can do the set timeout, but using GSAP. The first parameter will be how long, but be careful, it's in seconds, not milliseconds. And the second parameter will be our function, so our callback function. So everything we put in that. You can just move things here. Like that. You will get the same result. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of the same. And as you can see, it's working just fine. Looking great. All right. I think we did it. Let me check. Yeah, one more thing. We talk about that later. So we did it. We have our loader. It's working great. Maybe you can improve it. Maybe you can show the percentage. Maybe you can do an animation so that people can wait and see this animation. It can be like more easy to wait. But still, I want you to remind you something. Mixing HTML and WebGL is usually bad for performances. It's just bad. Like you can have a small frame rate drop just because you added HTML above your WebGL. All right, so try to avoid. Right now, what we should have done is to create the loading bar using a plane. Again, it would have been better. It's not the problem here. I wanted to mix HTML and WebGL to show you. If you have good performances even on a mobile, well, just continue like that. It's fine. But keep that in mind. Keep an eye on the frame rate and test on many devices. And that's all for this lesson. I will see you in the next lesson.